James, you make such a compelling argument for inclusivity. I think sometimes we tend to underestimate the age differences and the various, the generations that work in our organizations. We tend to give a lot more time and a lot more focus on the younger generation, and because we have all these digital tools, and they are very used to it. I remember a few years ago when Vodafone, we started our digital transformation journey. We had volunteers. We called for volunteers, right? Who were digital. We called them digital ninjas. And so we assigned digital ninjas, so everyone knew who they are. And so if you have an issue or anything with even signing up for Twitter or something like that, which we were encouraging, employees and leadership teams to do and stuff, just call on your digital ninja, who became like your personal friend. And we saw budding relationships between, the digital ninjas, and we called ourselves digital dinosaurs. Some of us are very old, so we needed help more than others. So we have to look at inclusivity as well when we're building these cultures that we desire in our organization. So thank you very much for that. Rabna, how are we doing for time? Should we get some questions, comments?
Yes, so we could do the HR Forum contributions from anyone in the audience.
And Ashok, whilst we wait for that,
Yes.
Interestingly, we set up the creating employee engagement strategies without going to the employees for whom the engagement is being created. That's one aspect. The second aspect is those
There's fast fingers, so people are not listening to they're looking at us.
Return to sender. So, interestingly, those sitting up there creating these engagement strategies are in the ex-boomer generation.
Yeah.
And they are creating strategies for the Y and the Z.
Gen Y and Z, yeah.
What do you expect? You organize the program and you have 10% participation.
So that means that, if the programs are being organized, it needs to cut across. So representatives from all generations should...
I have a funny story. So I think it was 2 years ago. I love Amachididi. 2 years ago, we were having our annual end of year party, and so the engagement team came to me to review the plan and everything. I was like, so we're looking for which artist to bring in this year. I was like, let's bring Amachididi. They're like, boss, Amachididi is saying. Yeah, I was like, everybody loves Amachididi. Who doesn't love Amachididi?
No way.
Vetoed my idea very quickly.
So we have a question.
Okay, my name is Blessing. I'm from Signum Development. I'm really enjoying the panel discussions, and it's been really insightful. And my question is a quick one. I understand some people argue that everybody has a love language. When you come to the corporate world, putting it in context, everybody would have a care language. Now, how do we ensure that, considering the generational diversities we have in the corporate world, from the baby boomers to the millennials and the Generation Z or Y, how do we ensure that we capture everybody's love or care language? Because if I'm a baby boomer, my care language would be, okay, I've done a good job, maybe you should give me some monetary reward, or take my kids abroad for vacation. For a millennial, my care language would be, I would want maybe an exclusive car park lot in the office, or maybe I would want a dinner with the CEO. How do you ensure that you capture this, considering the complexity of the human nature?
Yeah.
Okay, so, but bottom line, they know what they want. Go to them, poll surveys, speak to them by the cooler conversations, pick up ideas from them, come and put it, do your kaleidoscope, it's like a bomb site, and begin to rank Which ones are common to all the colleagues? Which ones are common to a majority? Which ones are common to a minority? What does your budget, if it requires budget? There are low-hanging fruits. There are ones that can be done, the click of a button. Go ahead and do those. But for me, that's how I think you should go about it. Go to them. Don't think for them.
Yeah. So William is right. You can't assume that just because somebody is Generation Z or Generation Y, they fit into a certain box, right? Or just because they're Generation Z and Y, they prefer to work from home. Some of them actually want to come to the office. And when we did the polls regarding, return to work and stuff, we were actually quite surprised by the number of, our youthful population who were asking for the opportunity to have a hybrid because they enjoy the interactions that they have when you come into, the organization. I remember when I think it was 2-3 years ago, we decided that we were going to look at our benefit structure, and we're going to look at our healthcare, our medical, what do you call it?
Insurance?
Medical insurance, exactly, that we give to employees. So some people had come to us to say that, look, my spouse works with Barclays, works with Lene. They also have a really generous medical insurance package. And so can we look at doing something else? So we thought about it. We went to the drawing table. We spoke to our insurance partners. And we were able to design such a way that when you come to us and you prove to us that you do have insurance from your spouse, then we would put that money that we would have paid to an insurance company for you for insurance for the year, we would put it into an investment, right? And so at the end of the year, at the end of 2 years, we give you back that money. So that is a way that you can listen and you can embody what the people are telling you into an actual engaging something for the workforce.
And sometimes we just imagine or exaggerate the feedback. Maybe it's too much. This one says this one says that. How can we meet everybody's requirement? But when Hannah started her presentation, she mentioned that in God we trust. Any other thing is data. So like William said, you need the data to do the analysis. I also remember many years ago, my boss used to say that we all have different needs. Maybe somebody wants, at the stage he has reached, he's building a house and needs some money too. Even in rewarding, giving reward in terms of money, you can't reward everybody the same way.
Yeah.
And we have to be sensitive to some of these things. And that can really keep employees engaged. So you do the analysis, you're able to design what is needed. But it's important you listen to everybody. Now, sometimes the employees, they may not speak to you the truth if you are the one managing them and you come to them direct, okay? So it's important you engage a consultant, an independent person, to come and do the survey, face-to-face conversations with them. Don't only do paper or text things, because the emotions that follow the paper you will not see.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you get a consultant who is genuinely doing this work and meets everybody, you will have much more information. And that can help you design the engagement that is required to help your organization.
Yeah. Thank you. Governor.
So we have with us Madam Chifa Romano Mensah. She will be giving us some more contributions. She's representing Enterprise, and she's giving us some contributions on the theme. So with a round of applause, if you could invite her. She stands.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone, and to all our distinguished guests, and especially to our HR professionals, and also our esteemed panelists. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I'd also want to thank Lene for the opportunity to share knowledge, and I believe that year on year, you keep raising the bar. So Lene, kudos and well done. Thank you. The topic under discussion is very, very relevant to the times, and I'm sure our panelists have spoken to it. And when it comes to culture, one of the thought leaders in management, and I'm sure most of us are quite familiar with it, is culture, which is actually said by Peter Drucker, that culture is strategy for breakfast. Some take it further by saying culture is strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And some have even taken it even further by saying culture is strategy for breakfast and transformation for lunch. So that just shows how much culture is important when it comes to business operations. Also, the impact on culture and employee engagement cannot really be understated. And in a bid to change the work mode, as HR professionals, of which most of us are, we must be careful that we do not get into the mundane process when it comes to culture and employee engagement and relegating it to the background, because it's very important. And I'm sure some of the questions that are to be asked is, how do we ensure that culture remains top of mind? Because if you're not careful, it's something that it's quite fickle. We see it as quite fickle, but it's also very, very important. And also, how do I constantly keep my employees engaged, with most of them or some of them working from home or working remotely? How do I effectively manage the change? And I must say that culture currently is even being prominently featured in some strategies. When it comes to employee strategies, you see culture being top-notch or having a front seat when it comes to organizational strategies. And when we have to explain employee engagement as defined by Society of HRM, is a level of an employee's commitment and connection to the organization. And two words actually stand out: commitment and connection. And commitment is also looked at from two lenses of productivity, because once you're committed, it should reflect in the individual's output or results. And connection has to do with how an individual's purpose, and I'm sure we've had conversation around purpose even in the first session, and values aligns to that of the organization. And this is where culture comes in. What are the core values of the organization, and how aligned are employees to it? Have we been clear on demonstrable behaviors? Because once we have the demonstrable behaviors of our core values, that is actually the first step towards ensuring the culture. If, for example, one of our core values is friendliness, what does it mean? And how are employees to demonstrate it in their day-to-day work? Just to avoid ambiguity, so everybody is clear that this our core value of friendliness is part of our culture, and these are the demonstrable behaviors that it needs to go with. What innovations and programs are we as HR putting in place to ensure that it remains top of mind, even for employees who are working remotely? And I must say, at Enterprise, one of the things we have done is ensuring that the core values and demonstrable attributes are clear for staff. We start and end every meeting with a prayer. Whether it's a virtual meeting or a face-to-face meeting, we start with a prayer, because one of our culture is around the God factor. We also have recognition schemes, staff debates, town halls, and all of this underpinned by the culture. Our vision and mission is made known to staff. I remember we had someone coming to talk to us, and the first question the person asked, what is your vision and mission? And almost every employee was able to say it. So that just shows that the entrenchment of culture is quite high. Open door policy, sociable work, and even in COVID, we had virtual parties. Kenki and Wache party, dispatch rider delivered to your house, and then you join virtually. And I'm sure late last year, Jerusalem Challenge was quite common. We had some organizations taking part, and I'm sure it was fun to see top executives, seeing them dance and taking part in the Jerusalem Challenge. And all this is to drive employee engagement and also the culture. And of course, D&I, diversity and inclusivity, is not left out. But finally, for us, and when I say us, for Enterprise Life or Enterprise, we are one family, and not only through teamwork, but connected through its mission, our vision, and a deeper sense of purpose. The above is all aimed at nurturing, empowering, and inspiring our people to be the X factor in meeting our current and future market needs. In all the above, communicating and living the culture is paramount, else it just becomes a nice to have. And I know we've had conversations about culture being entrenched through the leader and how HR can support. And definitely it comes through the leader, because the behaviors of the leader and the leadership team entrenches the culture. HR will strategize on it, but with the combined efforts of the leadership team and demonstrating the core values through behaviors and actions, culture does not just become a surreal floating word, but then is deeply ingrained in employees' DNA. So to end on this note, I know I've spoken for quite a while, but just to end on this note, from a quote from Aristotle is, who we are and what we do, we are what we do repeatedly. And excellence then is not an act, but a habit. So employee engagement and culture should be lived, should be communicated consistently to enable it to become the driving force for the end-to-end employee experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jifa Romano. She's a senior HR manager for Enterprise Life, Ghana and Gambia. Thank you so much, Jifa, for that contribution.